Do manifestation techniques actually work sustainably in the long run? Most people understand what we mean when we talk about subconscious patterns, rewiring the mind, rewiring the brain, and so on. But to rewire the subconscious mind, let me ask you a simple question. Is your subconscious patterns, whatever they may be, however limiting a belief you may hold about a particular thing in your area where you feel you're blocked, right? Do you think it's episodic? Do you think your life as it has unfolded today is a result of one or two or perhaps three particular episodes of your life that's given you such a deeply embedded limiting belief or thought pattern, that's producing repeatedly a certain result? If it's just a matter of one or two limiting beliefs, you can unravel it. Or if you think you can unravel it to the extent memory can go, and memory can only go so far as it can, you think that's all there is to it? To rewire your entire subconscious patterns require an deeper inner work and an in-depth understanding of what you are. Your reality as it is today is an unfolding of the person, the persona, the identity that you are. When I say the identity that you're operating from, immediately one would think I am an operating from a certain identity. But what if I told you you are your identity? We are, more often we talk about you are your thoughts, what you think you become. We can accept that, right? That's easy to understand somehow. And yet, when I say you are your identity, people somehow are just, they can't quite wrap their head around it. So the fundamental thing is not what identity you are operating from, but what is identity. You need to start with that. Without a clear understanding of that, sustainable manifestation is absolutely not possible. Because what are you manifesting at the end of the day? What do we mean by manifesting? What is manifestation? Is it an end result? Is it achieving a goal? Manifestation is nothing but an unfolding of an expression, the expression being you, an unfolding expression of yourself. But more often than not, we see everything in physical forms, right? So when there is money in our hands that we desire, a certain amount, once we have that in our hand, we say that we've manifested that. But the fact is, it's an unfolding of you. What you are inwardly is what you express outwardly, right? Forget about vibrations, frequencies. We've heard that language too much everywhere. And how much of that comes from a depth of deep knowing? We don't know, right? So all I'd point to you is understand who you are. Know what the identity is. That is, when I say identity, the word is quite self-explanatory, right? What is an identity? Immediately we'll think, the mind rushes to answer, identity is my name or my labels, my nationality, my gender, or the way I look or the way I speak. And inwardly, what's your identity? Your preferences, your thoughts, this, that, and the other. That is your identity, right? That's what you'd say. But what is that you're in that? Who is the entity that says that this is my identity? You follow what I'm saying? If you say that's me, that's my identity, me, I. What does it mean? The word identity is quite self-explanatory, right? It is identification of I with all of this. You follow? Identification of whatever you take yourself to be, the me, the I, with everything that it has identified with, not just the fact that your external identification, which has a certain practical utility and value, like your passport, your nationality, the community you belong to, your name, your qualification, all these form part of your identity. You can easily see them as external labels and so on and so forth, but still you retain yourself as though you're separate from that identity. Okay, I'm not brushing aside identity entirely because it has its relevance, it has its place, it has its utility in practical life, particularly the external identities, right? If somebody asks me, where's your house? I have to point out the direction of my house. I have to say, that's my address, not that I am my address. I'm not a building. I'm not the street. I'm not the door number. But I'm pointing to something where I reside and that belongs to me, right? But the sense of that me that is derived out of all these, not just externally, but more importantly, psychologically, inwardly, that gives rise to the psychological entity called me, my likes, my dislikes, my preferences, my memories, my experiences, my prejudices, my opinions, my judgments, my hopes, my fears, my sense of hopelessness, my sense of insecurity. All this inwardly, fundamentally, what forms this layer, layer after layer after layer, that this so-called entity called I has identified itself with. Now, don't go rush off, the mind will rush off into thinking, ah, yeah, I understand, that's what she means by subconscious patterns. Forget all that words. These are words, right? Yes, it is subconscious patterns, of course, but I'm pointing to something else here. Whose subconscious patterns? Whose subconscious patterns are we talking about? Your subconscious pattern or my subconscious pattern? Who is the person that says that these are my subconscious patterns? You follow? There is an entity that is identified with all these patterns, with all this way of thinking, this way of operating, and the one that says, oh my God, my life is the way it is now and I need to manifest. This entity, remove it layer by layer, all its identification, starting with the name, right? Name can be changed, you all know, right? Easily it can be changed officially. Today you may be called X, tomorrow you can be called Y. And that'll just as much feel real as your name X did, because you're identified with it completely. Anything you identify with will feel like your reality. And yet we don't know what is this I, this thing that is constantly identifying with everything. So I'm asking you, remove layer by layer. Name, nationality, qualifications, place of residence, who you belong to, your family, wife of, husband of, father of, mother of, daughter of, son of, sibling of, friend of. Remove it all. Remove it, remove it, remove it, remove it, remove it. And then coming to the psychological side, right? These are your external physical identities. Remove it all. Now coming to the psychological. My opinion, remove. My judgments, remove. My prejudices, remove. Like the peeling of an onion, just a metaphor, but don't literally take it that way. Then what else can you remove? Your fears, your deepest fears, your insecurities, your worries, your whatever scarcity mindset. Remove it, remove everything. Keep on removing. Remove everything that this entity called I has stitched together in memory to form a coherent narrative, a story, a life story about itself. I, me. Once you've removed everything, what is left? Remove the fact, this is my body, remove that too. What is left? You will say, me, I'm left. Yeah. So what is that I am? What is that? You see what I'm saying? There's two things that can happen here. One, for some who are so inclined, they'll want to ask, then what is this I? That's a deeper probe. For those who are interested, you can get in touch with me through my workshops. That is a different field altogether. We can explore that. That's a deeper spiritual inquiry. But those who come till this point, who immediately some people will run because they will say, oh my God, then where is she taking me with this? I'm going to lose my sense of identity. I'm going to lose my family. This is just very flaky ground. I don't want to stand here. This is not comfortable for me. For whom? This I, right? Why? Why? Why should this I be scared if it is actually something that has an existence in isolation, even without all that it has identified itself with? Why must one be scared of losing their sense of self, whatever this is? Don't immediately say, I'm a soul. Do you know what a soul is? Have you seen a soul? Don't say a spark of light. We've read all the scriptures, but let's just be rational and logical. Don't say these things are beyond logical mind, therefore we have to let go. Yes, I get that. But have you come to that point of search within yourself where you can see the limits of thought? Until you've seen the limits of thought, you cannot say that this is beyond logic. Make a leap from where you are to that point. You can't. See the limits of thought. The moment you've come to that place of inquiry, there's insight, you will lose this automatically. Thought will come to an end on its own once it's reached its limit. But until such time, don't make this assumption. It may very well be true that there are things that are beyond the logical mind, because the mind, this is the I, which is a limited entity, it's derived its identification only, it's derived its sustenance and existence only through its identifications with everything that it's identified with, without all these layers. What is it? That's a simple question I'm asking, right? If you can sit with me in this inquiry thus far, one of two things can happen. You'll want to explore further in depth what this I is. That's a greater search. Brilliant. The other is, there is another side to it. If you've come this far and understood that this I is self-perpetuating itself through memory, stitching memory together to form a coherent narrative for your life, you know now at this point, having come thus far in your inquiry with me, you know this I is not permanent. The identity is not permanent. It's a changing, moving, malleable story. When that is the case, who is the author of that story? The I itself. It has chosen to identify with this. Having seen that with crystal clarity, not just verbally, you need to really see it like it's a fact for you, for which you need to do deep inner work. People, listen, I am telling you how to manifest sustainably, right? Having seen this, next time in your external world of stimulus, something comes to provoke you, push your button. Of course, your memory is not going to go off. This I still retains its old memories. This understanding is not going to erase your memories or your life. This is just an understanding. But if you've really understood this, how this I has come into being and where it's getting its sustenance from, it doesn't care where it gets its sustenance from, as long as it's alive and existing in your memory as I. It needs to self-perpetuate. You understand? It's not your ego or my ego. There is the ego. Now, if that's too abstract for you, think of it as your ego. Doesn't matter. Start with you first. Right? So when you come to this point, You've seen that it's gaining its sustenance through identification. Why not start identifying with the right things in alignment with what you consciously desire to achieve in your life? So let's say you want to achieve success outwardly, or a particular amount of money, or whatever your goal is. Inwardly identify your consciousness, your identity with not scarcity consciousness anymore, but wealth consciousness, not money consciousness, wealth consciousness. That's a different thing. Abundance consciousness, harmony consciousness, health consciousness, right? And it's not enough to just have that inner identification with that. What happens the next time? Because life continues to keep happening around you. It's not going to come to a standstill just because you're doing inner work in you, and just because you've gained an understanding of what the identity is. The same old external stimulus is going to do, because every day come morning you have to go to your office, every month you have to pay your bills, every month there is the same problem with money situation, right? Every month you have to pay your children's school fees or whatever bills that has to be paid, that keep coming knocking on your door, and yet your external circumstance seems to be exactly the same. So this external trigger continues happening while you're doing this inner work. But the difference between doing the inner work to this extent and just doing positive affirmations, which just says, I'm a money magnet, I'm this and that, with due respect, no disrespect to any of that, because those things have its value, right? Any power of motivational talk and positivity talk has its value, especially to a person who's completely hopeless and is coming from a place of complete utter sense of despair. In that moment they get a lift, the energies get a lift. Definitely it has its value, but temporarily, not sustainably. And if you're not able to sustain something, it leaves you in a greater sense of despair, an even greater depth of hopelessness it pushes you into. I'm sure those who've been through this journey can completely resonate with what I'm saying. This message would hit them, would strike a chord. So, what I'm saying is, if you've come this far in your journey, then you align yourself. This external stimulus is going to keep happening to you, but the one different thing that's going to happen, unlike what happens with just following vision boards and goal cards and positive affirmations and all that, which also has its value, but just relying on that alone in order to manifest your inner identity without understanding what this identity is, the inner sense of your belief structures, which are cemented and crystallized over time, right? They will have difficulty believing and accepting what you're externally narrating every day, chanting every day. It becomes like a blind chanting. People will say, trust the universe, just keep doing this. Universe is nothing but it's you, right? You are the universe, because you are a reflection. The universe out there is nothing but a mirror reflection of what you are inwardly. Which universe are you going to rely on? Is there another universe besides this? Because whatever your pattern is, the world is like a mirror. Every relationship is like a mirror. It keeps reflecting you back. And there's great, tremendous learning through the life lessons that we gain, through every interaction, through every conversation, through every experience in life. They are the best teachers for us. But more often than not, we miss the teachings. At best, we take some teachings here and there, but it never quite registers when our present reality is so pressing. The immediacy of our problems demands a different solution, an immediate relief, a respite, a breathing space. So, when you talk about looking deeply at oneself, it may or may not even register when they come with the immediacy of their problems. In such times, yes, motivational talks may help, or some Inspiring stories might help. But motivation is such a flaky foundation. It doesn't last very long. It changes very quickly. To build something sustainable, you can't rely on something as temporary as motivation. To build something sustainable, you need a solid foundation. And that solid foundation can only be had through an in depth knowing, a deeply gained insight through your own investigation, not because somebody else told you. Because if someone else told you, it's a borrowed opinion. You don't know that for a fact yourself, you just believe. But when you know it, when you sit through this inquiry with me without your judgments, without your opinions, without your present knowledge, without the background mental chatter and noise, when there is total attention and you're listening to me, there is only the message, not you or not me. The divisions blur. And the message will have its way of landing in you and bringing about its own insight in you. Not I'm telling you something and you learning something from me. There is no I or you or me. There is just the message, provided you can listen with such attention. My master always says that. And that's one thing that's made a lot of change for me. All I say is when you have this level of understanding, you can, that awareness is bound to come. It's bound to come. It's bound to find its way, throw light on you. You know, when the external stimulus, there's another person pushing your button like he normally does or she normally does in your external reality. Once you've understood that this is a malleable, moving, changeable entity, this I, you can recreate it in that moment. You may not know how to respond in that moment, but you will certainly not respond in your old way because you will instantly understand you do not want that old identity at that point. Now you're aligned with a new identity. You've understood what ID is made of, identity is made of, the I is made of, the me, the ego is made of, right? Now you'll consciously and deliberately rewrite your story. Because at that moment, instead of reacting in your own way, this awareness will be present as to who you are and where you want to go. And in that, you will pause. It puts the brakes on your old way of operating. And you will, at best, even if you don't know how to respond, there is a certain intelligence that awareness brings. And the way you respond in that situation will be different, not in your old way of reacting. That's how you can create. And along with whatever it is you want to manifest, now you know you want to recreate your identity at an identity level, right? Now you do all your techniques, there will be alignment, the inner and the outer. And not just this, it's not enough just to wish for something and wait. Manifestation is not wishful thinking alone. It's not just identifying with uh, being a great businessman and doing nothing about it. You have to have a clear strategy. You have to have an action plan. Affirmations does not limit itself only to talking in present tense as though you already have it in your hand, whatever you visualized in your images, ideal images. But it also has to do with what you do, how you go about it, and what are you feeling. All those things are involved. You have to have a clear action plan. For that, you need to have clarity. And clarity will only come when you do this inner work into yourself first. When there is a shift within you, you'll see that the world outside is responding differently to you as well as you keep going along. And it gives you a certain resilience. This level of in depth knowledge of who you are will give you a certain resilience, even though your present reality is dictating things differently. Because what this does is two things. One, It stabilizes you. It centers you. It grounds you. Right? Two, you will deliberately and consciously set forth in motion a different way of identification with life, a different way of outlook to life, and a different way of acting from this understanding. So there is movement happening in your life, moving towards your goals, even if your present reality, has already been set in motion a long time back. So there are consequences playing out right now, and you're going to have to face that. It doesn't matter. You will take it in your stride. This gives you that strength, this knowledge, this grounding. It's humbling, but it's grounding. You're centered, more centered. So external shakeups don't shake you quite the way it used to. You're a lot more calmer. And you're moving towards your goals. Not believe, you know. That's what sustainable manifestation is all about. This is what I mean when I say manifestation done right. So for those who want quick solutions, quick techniques, tell me, is your life the way it is today as a result of something that happened quickly? Something that's been built up since the time that you were probably in the womb of your mother. How far back can you go to undo all that rewiring and recoding? How much of this layer by layer peeling can you keep doing in life? You can't. Therefore, you need to understand what the identity is and see the total movement, the totality of it at one go, finish. Once you've seen that, then the mind might take you into a deeper probe, or if you want to, create, you can create from this place itself. You can create meaningfully what you want to create according to your desires. And you have to have a goal, an action plan, and this alignment between outwardly what you want and internally you have to believe that that is for you. Internally, that identification is there with this. Outwardly, whatever consciously you desire will be aligned with this. The reason I wanted to say this, particularly because, uh, I was just saying, I lost the train of thought. So about sustainably manifesting something and how far back can you go to, undo the damage. I was just going to give an example, actually. I don't know how relevant this example is. Probably a little bit outdated. Uh, Back in the days when I had a MacBook, I still do. Back in the days, I'm talking about the days that I was in London doing my law degree, right? I was struggling because MacBook has its own operating system, Macintosh, right? And it's just annoying sometimes and brilliant at times because I preferred Word, but I preferred my MacBook for everything else. And MacBook has its own software operating system. It will not accept, back in the days I'm talking about, like in 2003, 2004, like that. It won't accept 2003, 2004. Yeah, I think so. 2005. I can't remember. Anyway, sometime there, right? 2006 even, maybe. I don't know. It did not accept Word, obviously, because it's not compatible with it. Its operating system, its coding was completely different. It was coded to not accept anything else. It had its own software, it had its own operating system. It was not compatible with any other system, period. And if you try to buy this Word, I remember, I think I bought Word 2007 or 2010, something like that. It corrupted my entire MacBook. My laptop was gone for a toss. So I know that now MacBook accepts Word. It's been upgraded or whatever. Their operating system is likely coded differently now to accept Word. On a MacBook, you can work on Word now. But why is that? Because now it's coded differently to accept something else, right? So something similar to this. If your inner coding is such that your identification is with this, externally, no matter what you want to rewrite it with, this inner system is not going to accept that, because your inner system is fundamentally this Macintosh, out, old version Macintosh I'm talking about. But if this is understood, right, and you rewire it now more consciously to accept your external coding, then there is alignment and this would work, right? But this inner alignment has to happen first, and for that this inner work is essential. So that's where I wanted to take you to with this example. I hope it was relevant for you, and if you're interested in exploring this further, contact me on awakenedachievershub@gmail.com. You can explore my website for my podcasts and about my books that I write, and also about my workshops on my website, which is priyakanan.in, priyhakannan.in. You go into my website, you'll get a lot of details about me, about my workshops, and my programs, one-to-one mentorship as well. You can explore those details on my website. Thank you for your time, and I hope this was insightful for you, and I hope you enjoyed this episode of my Quantum Self podcast. Thank you again.